Well, big merger news coming from the tech space today. Salesforce announced that it's buying analytics platform Tableau for $15.7 billion in an all-stock deal. This is a big one for Salesforce as it continues to try and diversify beyond software and into deeper layers of analytics. With us now to discuss is Wang, founder and principal analyst at Constellation Research. Ray, this is Salesforce's largest deal to date. What's your take on the deal and just some of the excitement we're seeing around the SaaS space right now?
You know, this is a massive acquisition. What we're seeing here is really this push towards data and analytics, this move to digital transformation, which we see as a $2.47 trillion market, by 2025. That is where this is all headed towards. Part of the problem is a lot of folks don't know how to manage their data, visualize data, use that data to make business decisions really well. The two leaders in the space, Power BI, Tableau, have built these big followings of folks that have been working with that data, making it easy to read, easy to analyze, and Salesforce wanted to make sure they had a piece of that action because they've got a lot of overlap with Tableau customers that are there today.
Ray, when you look at the space right now, I think a lot of the stock price action we've seen in those SaaS names, look at a name like Atlassian, for example, feels like it goes up every day to me. Okta's had an incredible run. MongoDB's at record highs. A lot of these names have some sort of a belief that they might be acquired one day, probably by Google or Salesforce, right? That's kind of the cycle of life in that space. As someone who follows the enterprise software space, where does it feel to you like we are in the cycle? Are there still huge amounts of enterprise customers who need this stuff and that these are attractive acquisition targets? Or is it getting a little bit, are we getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, I guess, in the stock market with the valuations that we're assigning to some of these names?
I think we're still in the midpoint of that cycle, heading on our way up. Part of the reason is because we've got a lot of enterprise software players that haven't run their course in terms of growth and growth dynamics. There's still a lot of investment on the B2B side. And because of that investment, you see companies like Microsoft, IBM, Google, Salesforce, Oracle, and SAP still in the mode to make acquisitions, and Adobe to some extent. And there are a lot of great plays out there and some IPOs that haven't even come out yet. Right, we're looking at IPOs from the likes of Slack still to come. Atlassian was a great one, and more importantly, you have other small areas and niche areas of verticals that are still coming out in terms of companies that have been built out 10 to 12 years out that are SaaS opportunities for acquisitions as the vertical and industrialization of vertical strategies start popping up as well.
Hey Ray, Brian Chung here. So obviously Mark Benioff has had a history of acquisitions, but I'm wondering if you think that this kind of vertical integration strategy, right, where the SaaS company like Salesforce ends up acquiring a company that provides some of this data visualization technology is going to be the name of the game, given how you just said that you could see more acquisitions taking place. When we look at, for example, a MicroStrategy, which is a much smaller version of Tableau effectively, do you expect to see them also be acquired by the likes of another SaaS provider, or do you think that there would be more consolidation among other type data analytics services take it in a horizontal fashion that would kind of make for a more neater, less frothy market?
No, Brian, great point. MicroStrategy is a great company. It's the Tableau equivalent in that space. I think it's one of those that could be acquired, but it's got a lot of controlling interest from its founder. So I think that might be a little bit harder, but there's a lot of potential for MicroStrategy to also sell in that marketplace. But when you take something like a Snowflake, which is data warehouse in the cloud, that's a huge opportunity that may be a target if they don't go IPO. We've got other players in that space, Click, which is acquired by a PE company, PE firm sometime back. That is also, rumor has been that they're in the market to be sold as well. So we see that. We see the Lookers that just got acquired by Google. This is a space where everybody wants to get into. The first part is getting that data easily organized. Alteryx is another great example. Getting that data organized, prepped, in place so people can use it. The next step is taking that data and pumping that into AI and machine learning systems. But getting that data infrastructure is hard. Visualizing that data isn't easy as well. And I think there's a race to build these data-driven digital networks that are popping up.
All right, Wang with Constellation Research. Thanks for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks a lot.